alguien en esta cultura.
Yeah, it's Dr. Peter Weller, and the doctor is honorary. Italian Renaissance Art and Intellectual History from UCLA. My friend Jimmy Fishburne is my classmate from there. He's the head of the Forest Lawn Museum. And I've got other friends here, Jordan Letty, other teachers and students, film students here, Jamel, Gary, thank you for coming. There's three things I want to say about this film. I read this book in 1968 when I was 19 or something like that. The book, Naked Lunch, by William Burroughs, was censored and blocked. And Los Angeles, as a matter of fact, was the very last place that blocked it in 1965. It took, from the time he finished it in 1958 to 1965, so many people found it pornographic, incendiary, horrible, and the whole thing is that he's writing a social history essentially like the book, using images of cartoons, etc., made-up characters, and it truly is a social shout-out to repression. You with me on that? Yeah. So here's the thing with Burroughs, and I was happy enough to meet him and hang with him for 6 months and basically confect him. There are a couple of people in our history, no matter what your gender is, who had the guts, the courage to call themselves out in a day when you just get beat up, you got shot. And the literary history of this, Pier Paolo Pasolini, if you don't know who he is, he was probably murdered because he was gay. William Burroughs called himself queer. We sat during the Gay Day parade during Naked Lunch, and he said this: I'm not a part of any movement, and I've never been gay a day in my life. I'm queer. I'm queer because I'm marginalized, and that's the way I've always been, and that's what I call myself. Subsequently, when you study that methodology in college, as Jimmy Fishburne will tell you, anybody else, it's called queer theory. And that is the theory and the methodology of people who are, because of their gender, marginalized. And Burroughs was one of the very first. Jean Genet's another one. If you don't know who he is, you have to leave. Jean Genet's another one. Gore Vidal's another one. These people spoke out against repression of gender way before it was hip. And the only person I know who was actually championing it outside of that was Marlon Brando, God bless him. So know this about that. The people tried to make this film, but this film the book is a smorgasbord of incendiary hand grenades at repression. And people tried to write a script and make it, but it's almost like you gotta animate it. You gotta make the farthest out Gulliver's Travels version of a Marvel movie to make this book into it. Something you can't do it. And they tried. Cronenberg, a gifted human being, and I mean gifted, a sensitive, pulverizing, incisive, exploratory director, decided to brilliantly do the story of Burroughs writing the book using images from the book and essentially tell us the writer's journey through it. You understand? Okay, that's what this movie is. And it is possibly one of the 2 or 3, Humphrey Bogart said you're lucky if you make 2 or 3 that live beyond you. And I think I've made 2 or 3 that'll live beyond you. And it's got, by the way, it's got Howard Shore's score in it with Ornette Coleman. I'm a jazzer, I never got to meet Ornette Coleman. I wanted to meet him so badly, but he plays in this thing. The score itself it's got Judy Davis, who is maybe the finest actress there. It's got Ian Holm. It's got my dear friend Julian Sands, who passed away Saturday. I want to shout out to Julian. These people remain friends forever and ever and ever. And Vanjie Griego is here. She worked on the film. Vanjie, stand up, please. She She was the producer's assistant. Anyways, I've eaten too much popcorn, so I'm throwing out the popcorn seeds. But the last thing I want to leave you with this is that I'm very self-conscious about my kids seeing it. And because it's got images and stuff, and you got to remember in the book predicted AIDS, liposuction, crack cocaine, the suppression of religion going on now, back and forth. Doesn't matter your color or gender. It had it all in there. And do you guys know what naked lunch means? No. You know what that image comes from with Burroughs? I'll leave you this. No. It came from Kerouac as a suggestion. And Burroughs took it and redefined it. And he said, it's naked lunch because it's that frozen moment in time when each of us gets to see exactly what's on the end of our fork. What part of addiction am I not explaining here? And I'll leave you with that. Enjoy the movie.
Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vidiots.
This is where so I'm going to answer a couple of questions, tell you a couple of things. But listen, I'm shamelessly promoting my book. And the Renaissance story is a fairly controversial book that throws a hand grenade at all sort of British scholarship. It's called Leon Battista Alberti. He's the all-time Renaissance guy. The Brits, for years, sitting with the Florence, wrote the first one book on painting. I see he didn't. All sorts of great scholars said, hey, well, why don't you write it? Take the heat. So the book is out, Cambridge University Press. You might wonder why, if I'm throwing a hand grenade at British scholarship, why Cambridge University Press is printing it. And it's a good thing. They said, well, we like everything because British scholarship is essentially Oxford. And anything throws a hand grenade at Oxford, Cambridge will take. Anyway, my kid, he's probably never going to talk to me again. He just watched this movie. And he's probably like going, okay, that's not my dad, I just saw him. And, but anyway, the book, Leon Battista Alberti, is being handled by Alex Heim of Vidiots, which is one of the top 3 antiquarian book dealers in the world. And Alex Heim's dad is my son's godfather and a great guy. So I'm shamelessly hawking it. Go buy it, and I'll sign it to you. There's autographs to sign too. All kinds of stuff. So anyway, you guys ask me questions because I don't know.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, you want to say what the hell is this movie about? No. Here's the deal. Let me just throw this at you. The great people that I studied with and learned from, and directors, including David Cronenberg and Kazan and on, Michael Apted and Sidney Lumet and Nichols and Uta Hagen and whatever. They said, you know, when you're watching something, and you're reading something, and I'm trying to get this penetrated into my son, you know, nail the theme. And the theme is not the story or the art or the subject matter or the whatever. The theme is usually 1 or 2 words that punch the thing you're writing or reading about. So anybody want to tell me 1 word what the theme of this movie is? Huh? Oh, come on, man.
Repression. Addiction.
What?
Repression.
Who's addiction? Yeah. Addiction about what?
Repression. Process.
Existential dread.
Writing. Loneliness.
Expression.
Addiction, which is what? What does addiction do? What does addiction really do? Yeah, it alienates what from what? That's right, that's exactly right.
Man from himself.
Yes, from yourself, from yourself, from yourself. Exactly right. This thing is about addiction, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, it's covered over, and the book is with government stuff, with secret zones, and it's political. It's definitely political because you say, well, I don't understand the politics of naked lunch. You don't have to. The very political process in itself can become the thing that covers up who you are. Just because you can say, I voted this, I want this, I stand for that, I go for that. You understand what I'm saying? Burroughs is a deep dude. A really deep dude. And
Okay, then I'm gonna chime in on this. Steve.
Go ahead.
You talked about meeting him and working with him for about 6 months for
Yeah.
in your introduction. What was that like? What was that, obviously that depth?
Powerful.
Go on.
Powerful and funny.
Okay. How so?
You know, actors like to think that they are directing Sons of Anarchy, right? And Sons of Anarchy, the extras in Sons of Anarchy are real deal Hells Angels, real deal Crips, because you want gun qualified extras and so forth, real deal Hispanic biker gangs. Those are the extras in Sons of Anarchy. When the actors would walk on, surrounded by 20 or 30 of these extras, who were fantastic and grateful and got out of San Quentin and had a SAG card and would smoke their dope in the parking lot, come in and shoot their guns, put the gun down and go back out, right? Then the actors would come in. And anybody in this room could go, real deal, phony. You follow?
Yes.
Okay, Burroughs, real deal, phony.
So what was that like for you then?
Well, you know, the thing is actors like to think that we are the guy.
Sure.
We're not the guy. I'm sorry, I did not sell my ass in Tangiers on the street, you know. Right?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not shoot dope for 18 years, you know, and then have my friends come over and save my life and write a book.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
So then what was it like to be around and the real deal? You said powerful.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me just give you this. I'll give you a metaphor. You can take it this way. Because I can say that Burroughs was like inventive and funny and great and whatever. And I'm going to give you one example of this. I am a sober guy. I got sober in the 80s, early 80s. And I was around in the Studio 54 cocaine days. I don't care if you know that or not. My kid already knows it so well. Burroughs was essentially in his own way a sober guy too. And he was. So one day while I'm shooting, I gotta go to New York. I love your shoes, by the way. I gotta go to New York. I'm gonna just give you this metaphor of what Burroughs really is and was and what the lesson of it is. I'll preface it with this. At the end of Naked Lunch, the book, he says, this is 58, man, he said, listen, drug addiction is a sickness, and as long as it is criminalized, you will never get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Said that in 58, man. You know, as long as you, and nowadays the state where they busted you, would give you 10 years in jail for like one joint of marijuana. But he's the guy that said the drugs are a pyramid. It's an economic pyramid. And as long as you constantly, quixotically, he said, go for the top of the pyramid, the kingpin, you are not doing anything. You have to serve and fix and help the junkie on the street, the bottom of the pyramid, or else that pyramid's never going to grow. Now, he said that a long time ago, right? Okay. So, and that's true, by the way. If we ain't helping the person who's addicted, it's good. So, yours truly, I had a break shooting this, and I go to New York, because I live in New York, and I had to go to the executive committee of a theater that I was on the board of directors for, the City Court building in hoity-toity, put on a suit and all this stuff. I get to New York, and I get this migraine, and I hadn't had a migraine since my 20s. I go screaming through my medicine cabinet because I got like a kidney stones pill, and I realized I left all the meds in Toronto where I'm shooting, and I got nothing in this medicine cabinet. And I pull out some old wisdom tooth. This is in 1991, 90 we're shooting. This is 1977 pills for pain, right? I mean, these are so off the charts. This thing. And I take one, and the migraine kind of goes away, and I kind of go to this board of directors meeting.
Yeah.
And I take another one for safety. Yeah. What part of the attic are you standing, right? I take it, put another in my pocket, and I get in the cab, and everything gets really slow in the cab. And every once in a while, there's a little bump. And then I'm going up to the City Court building, and the guy said, security lets me in. And I think, maybe I need the other one, I don't know. I take the other one. And in the meeting, everything everybody says gets very significant, including the waiter asking me if I would like a 7-Up or a Coca-Cola. And then it's my turn to speak, and then I become very articulate, and I speak through this particular haze of whatever this pain pill is. That was my thing anyway, slobber drugs around my thing. That's what we call them in Texas, because your head just falls and you slobber. And then the next day, I wake up with this screaming headache.
Yeah.
And I meet my ex-shrink, who was a guy all dressed in black, and he was really hip, and I said, well, I said, man, I don't know, man, I took this pain pill, and I got this hangover. He says, you know what, man, throw the things away, you don't need them, throw them away. I said, yeah, I'm done with them. So I go back to Toronto, and there's Bill Burroughs, who's there doing interviews. And I say, Bill, and Bill Burroughs talked like, you ever seen William Burroughs talk? Yeah, well, he had to talk like he had no lips. That's how Bill Burroughs talked.
Exactly.
And I said, Bill, I gotta ask you a question. He goes, yeah, sure. I said, it took this, blah, 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 this, I don't know, it was peanut butter or whatever. And I took this pill, and immediately I told him what it was. And he said, were they the little blue ones or the big yellow ones? This guy's a pharmaceutical know-it-all, man. And I said, they're the big yellow ones. He goes, yeah, this is for 200 milligrams, Merck, maybe, knows who made them. And I said to him, man, I don't know, man, they stoned me, and then they got me in this hangover. And what are they? Listen, this is the thing between an actor and the real guy. And he said to me, Peter, what do you mean, what are they? I said, yeah, Bill, I just want to know what they were, what are they? What are they? And he put his face about an inch away from me, and he said, it's junk! And walked away. And I'm standing there bitch slapped. I go, I get it, God, I get it. I'm the actor, he's the guy that really did it. I'm messing around with something in my medicine cabinet. He's the guy that almost died 15 times, wrote books about it. He's the real deal, I'm the phony. So I go track him down, I go, Bill, I get the slap. He says, you do? I hope you do. Because I'll tell you something, and this is true now. He's telling me this is 91. I mean, forget all the opioid craze and all that's going on now, right? He said, I'll tell you something, to shoot morphine or heroin is dangerous, but your body has to figure it out because it's organic. He said, but an effing pill is really the end of society. Because the pill, the body doesn't have to figure out. It's bang, right in the back of me. It's way more lethal than anybody shooting anything, even though shooting something looks ugly. The pill is faster death, is what he told me. You got it, Peter? I said, yeah, thank you, Bill. And that's my metaphor for little girls. That's it for the actor and whatever. The next is about addiction and story work is going to do. Okay, let me ask another question. Because I got to go sign some autographs, you guys to sign books and sell some stuff.
We're going to try and sell them.
Okay, what do you want? Okay, what else?
I wanted to know, okay, you got this script, you get this wild, you read the book in 1968, as you said.
That's right. But I begged Cronenberg to do the movie.
You want to tell that story?
Okay, I'm promoting RoboCop 2 at the Cannes Film Festival. I see and I see David Lynch at the Cannes Film Festival, other film festivals that will have signs for movies that they may make or may not make.
Correct.
And so, that's right, they're not necessarily going to, and I see 20th Century Naked Lunch. I say, what's that about? They said, we don't know, man, I think they're making the movie. I think Cronenberg is right. So I wrote Cronenberg a letter. About the time I'm offered a whole lot of money, like a lot of money to do RoboCop 3, and I don't want to do it. But I just don't want to do it, man. It's just like I never was in this for the money. And by the way, I just said at UCLA the other night, I think that Jordan was there, my wife was there. You know, one of the first law of prosperity, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to share it with you guys. And this is in Sanskrit, it's in stone, this is not 21st century psychobabble. First law of prosperity, find out what you really want to do. And do that. And you notice it doesn't say anything about money, or prestige, or fame, or the hot guy, or the hot chick, or the Ferrari, or the, you know, or whatever. So, I'm not in it for the money. I never was in it for the money. I like money, but I was never in it for the money. Thank God I was not in it for the money. I was in it for the gig.
Yeah.
So I see this thing, and I write Cronenberg a letter. I said, look, this book is instrumental in my development.
Wow. Okay.
Instrumental in my, because I'm part of the counterculture and whatever, and,
Yeah.
and I'm a radical, and I got, you know, my LSD flashbacks and earring holes to prove it. So, and I say, I want to do this movie if you ever cast it. And he calls me up and says, you want to meet? I go, sure. And he says, I'm coming to New York. And he came to New York and we talked about Ferraris. That's all we talked about.
When you came to New York, did you have a script at all?
No.
So when the script was presented to you, what was that?
I didn't care what the script was. No. You don't know. Look, man. Somebody's offering you something to go do your favorite, one of your favorite books. You don't know, I think I'm going to read the script first. No, you're not.
That's great.
No, you're not going to read the script. You're just going to say, yeah.
Great.
Look, you know, there's a couple of directors hanging out now who are entertaining me to go do a movie with them, you know, and I like these guys so much.
Yeah.
I don't care what the money is or what the script is. I just like the guys.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to sit down. You know, sometimes somebody offers me something, yeah, I want to read the script, and where is it?
Right.
That's the thing, where is it? Right? I ain't going to Alaska in the dead of winter. I'm sorry. But if somebody, if it's the vibe of the thing, I just say yeah, man.
And you were familiar with Cronenberg, obviously. So
I love Cronenberg.
Love Cronenberg before that.
I love his movies, but it's like somebody asked me about Verhoeven. When I went in to see Verhoeven, I hadn't read RoboCop, but I knew Verhoeven's movies. I knew that he made personal stories with a huge opera going on behind.
Always an opera.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I want to read your movies. He says, you haven't read it yet. It's not out. I said, I don't care. I love your movies, man.
This is great.
So this is what I tell them.
This is amazing. You go in for the vibe.
Yeah, man.
You want to connect.
Why not?
I'm just gonna maybe.
I say, well, you know what? I'm just not going to do this unless I, you know, push it.
Okay. So then, it doesn't matter about the script. You're in it because.
If you got the director and you got the thing and you can put the two together and you know in your soul this is going to be something. It's going to be a diatribe of creativity somewhere.
Yeah.
You just go, yeah.
So then, as an actor, what is then your process? If script aside, you're like, I'm in it. I'm in it to obviously deliver, hopefully a truthful experience, because right, you want it to resonate.
Yeah. Well, first you get the agent's call, and the agent says, "Hey, the 20th century." No, 20th century, and Cronenberg wants you to do this movie of Naked Lunch. By the way, they're offering you 10%. 10% of what RoboCop 3 is offering you. You understand that?
Yeah.
RoboCop 3 is offering you a house in Beverly Hills. Right?
Right.
Cronenberg is offering you a Motel 6.
Yeah, it's got charm.
And I say, and so what do I say? I go, man, I'm doing a Motel 6, baby. And thank God Rick Messina said I'm with you. So, like, you know,
Okay,
whatever.
now you're going to have to, or I'm going to, you don't have to, I don't want to say that. But I would like to know then about your artistic process through this role. Because you bring, if I might just compliment you here,
Yeah.
a very grounded, like you're a guide to us. For people that might have read the book, who are like entering into
I'm hanging with Burroughs.
You're
I'm
hanging with Burroughs.
right.
But
I'm
let's
reading
say,
his
what
life
is that?
story. And then, by the way, I have to go away and do another movie before this. Because this movie ain't going to happen for another 8 months. Once they say, here it's done.
Okay.
I got to go away and do this movie in Malaysia, which was a lot of fun. But I'm hanging with Burroughs and I'm asking all these questions. I'm hanging with Burroughs and Cronenberg.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about the surface of this thing, you know, I had enough experience at the surface of addiction to essentially endow Bill Lee
Yeah.
with my own interpretation of addiction, but what I wanted out of Burroughs was the soul of the deal. And the soul of the deal is betrayal. And then finding yourself back and being betrayed again. Because Burroughs was the first person to admit that he killed his wife. And that particular cornerstone, that horror, is the thing that generated his writing all his life. And it kept coming back and coming back. For Cronenberg to see that event, that horror story, is the seminal event of Burroughs' life, and that he's not going to escape it ever. And his whole life of writing has been trying to write his way out of his greatest sin, which is killing his wife, and he's never going to escape it. For Cronenberg to see that, you know, I'm not going to make the book Naked Lunch, because that's a potpourri of stuff that I can't put together, but I can do the arc of the guy trying to run from the event that is driving him, which is murder. Yeah. So that's the thing I talk to Burroughs about endlessly, but not about the event itself, but about the desire to escape it, the need to leave it, but it's never going to go away. And that's all of us. We're trying to run from something.
Absolutely.
You know, look, I did like Alex Heim, who's selling these books. His dad is like my dearest friend in life, man. And he said, when I was talking to him about talking at UCLA and talking here, I said, you know, the things that I've learned, spiritual things that I've learned, you know, I have to learn. And his dad said, yeah, you didn't grow up with Siddhartha Buddha as your roommate, Peter. You know, the guy wasn't feeding you the Tao daily from the age of 5. You know, you had to fall in the crap and go, okay, God, how does that work? And then God would learn to process out. That's what I was asking Burroughs. What was your process out? He said, my process out was always writing, but it would always write me back into the hole. The whole of whatever the thing he's running from, which is killing his wife.
Which again is, to your point, a brilliant choice that ends a bit like bookends the movie in a way, like really sticks it to the audience, right? That this moment, we're reliving it, you're going to experience it again. It's the first time, I think, as an audience, at least for me, whether you know this or not, it's shocking. It's like you don't think it's going to happen, and then it does, and then obviously we see it a second time. Which then makes me think again, I just want to perhaps ground it in your performance. You're also having to perform against, by the way, some incredible puppetry in this movie. Gonzalez, and his work.
But also Ian Holm and Judy
Judy
Davis is not necessarily Miss Lightweight, you know.
I agree. But I do then want to know what it is like for you, and if you want to talk, of course, about acting against the actors, but then also about these incredible puppets that you're with. Like you bring what was that like?
I don't know. They were there, treated like human beings. I mean, it was just, wow, what was it like doing like being in the Super Bowl guy? I don't know. It was just at that time, it was so organically, I was so near to the thing that there was a mugwump sitting next to me, and talking to mugwumps was like talking to you.
Praise the Lord, I am a
You're a lot better looking, but it's the deal.
I'll take it.
You're welcome.
Well, okay, so then again, speaking of the other actors in the space, can we then talk about the experience working with them? Again, you are the character of Burroughs, essentially.
Right, and you do hear Burroughs' stuff in there. There's Burroughs from the book.
Yeah.
Poetry in that thing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So working against the other actors, what was that like?
No, they were gifted. I mean, it was gifted. I mean, working with Roy Scheider, I miss him. I did 2 movies with Roy Scheider, and Roy Scheider was a hero.
What a scene, what a reveal, by the way, in this movie.
I know, it's fun, right? Yeah. And they were all, it was just a remarkable cast. A couple of Spears said, we were supposed to go to Morocco and do the Gulf War program. And we said, okay, we're not going to go to Morocco because the Gulf War is going on.
Right.
And Cheryl Spears said, I'll just build Morocco. And she did, man, and I thought it was gifted. And Cronenberg was like me Toronto anyway, so he was happy.
All about where you film, right?
Yeah.
That's what he said, all about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something more cogent to say about what the finality of this was, but there is no finality of it. I mean, it's just like the beginning is the end, that Burroughs is never going to escape the horror of this stupidity with a gun and his wife. You know, by the time I left shooting, I felt incomplete. I just like the film. I felt like, okay, there's no resolve to this at all. And the great resolve was, I called up, he's a cat fan in Burroughs. And he talked to me about cats all the time, his favorite cats. And his favorite cat, which was purebred, and he couldn't afford it, was a Korat, and they're from Thailand. And they're 20 years, they're like tigers, but purebred is very hard to find, and there's only like 2 breeders in the United States. I called up David and said, you know what, let's get him a Korat, man. He says, oh, sure, let's do it. The Korat came was something like $5,000, man. This is 30-something years ago. And we got him this Korat, get him with the papers and all that. Yeah. And we flew down to Lawrence, Kansas, and we spent a weekend with Bill, and gave him this cat, man, and I tell you, and then for the 3 days we were there, he would just have this cat, and stroke this cat, and talk to us while he was stroking this kitten just absolutely loved it. And they're so weird looking, you know? Have you ever seen a Korat? They're just, and when they almost look like, you know, a Grinch. So, and that was the last time I saw Bill. And, you know, but there was no resolve to this film.
Right.
And you know, seeing this movie again, I haven't seen it in 20-something years.
I was just gonna ask you that question, what was that like?
It's the same thing, you know, I think like, okay, what was the end of this? I mean, like at the end of certain movies that made like, end of Buckaroo, there was a celebration. And it was Buckaroo, and I'm still with those guys, with Goldblum and Lithgow. I just saw him play, we're hanging out, and Sherry and I were hanging out with him backstage like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And all those cats, man. But this, there's no resolve to. There's no, I don't have a completion with it.
Yeah. So it sounds like, again, you're kind of, when you watch it, it's like you're still with it.
Yeah, I'm still with it, man. It just loads me up. It loads me about, it loads me up not only about this, but about, and Burroughs and I were talking about all the people we lost to addiction. Yeah, you know, and I'm sure everybody here has lost somebody to addiction at some point, man. They're dead, you know, or they're in jail, or they're in the hospital, or something.
Yeah.
And so that thing called addiction, not just drugs, but to anything. You know, sex, money, power, whatever it is, man. Just this movie wraps me, man. It wraps itself around me, and I'm not really looking at myself. I'm just thinking like it's bringing up all this stuff. It's upsetting.
I think it's an upsetting movie for a lot of people. It is an upsetting movie. It's like you're
man, it's not Saturday Night Live.
And there's elements from the editing to the music, everything is
the music, I mean, Ornette Coleman and Jordan, what do you think of that soundtrack? Yeah. I mean, Ornette, wow. Yeah.
But it's meant to be unsettling.
What did you think of it? Did it unsettle you, or you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a hard movie. It's a movie you sit with. It sits with you. And I think that's what's kind of amazing about this film. It's unlike his other work and your work. It's something that sticks with you. Clearly, there are many people in this audience that have seen the movie before. You know who you are. That keep coming back to this movie too, because I think it reveals something about yourself. When you see yourself in many of the characters, you try to connect. Right? You're like, does this narrative, do I need to let go? I think it's interesting though when you have a movie that's about also testing you as a viewer to give yourself over to. Right? That you cannot follow the narrative because exactly what you were saying in your introduction, they're kind of, this is about life.
It's about life, man. Listen, you know, when he was writing Native Lunch, he was aware of the colonial suppression of the indigenous people in North Africa. But he was also, this is a great way, he was also aware of, in spite of the fact that he was against colonial suppression, you know, because this is the Algerian War. You got to remember that Algiers is going on while he's writing this next door. I mean, the French don't want to leave Algeria, but at the same time, Burroughs is also looking at this to say, well, what about the Catholic, Jewish, Islamic suppression of women and of gays and whatever? And if that government comes in, well, who are they going to suppress? I mean, this guy is like profound. So everybody goes, no, that's going to bring us freedom. Not necessarily.
No.
And that's how profound Burroughs was. And some people say, well, what does Interzone represent? Interzone represents freedom. Yeah, does it?
I know. It doesn't. But that's what I kind of thought about it. It's subjective. It's personal.
It's totally.
It become yours, but it's also it's a shared experience. And that, to me, about this film is what makes it so unique. It is a very unique film.
Very unique film, and also the book has all these Asians in it. You know what? You're now an Asian for like, oh really? I'm for the good guys. Really? Are those the good guys?
Yeah.
Do you know who the good guys are? You ordered for? You know? I mean,
We never do.
we don't, man. You know, we
Clearly, Peter and I can be up here just.
no, we do.
We do have to let people go so that you can sign your book.
Yes, I want to do
and
it.
sign
So,
any
look,
book
you know,
for us.
I just want to say, you know, one of the most powerful presidents we had, I mean, just to say, domestically anyway, my dad was his pilot for a while, and I liked it for what he supported in terms of women and blacks, was LBJ. And LBJ didn't know his ass to his elbow of foreign policy because we didn't know what we were doing, you know. But you know something, when he retired and he started his library, he said, this is during Watergate. This is LBJ talking Watergate. I'm thinking, man, Burroughs was so far ahead of his game. I'm thinking LBJ said, you know what? In 1964, Ramsey Clark came to me and said 8 agents of the CIA got together with 8 people from San Traficante. They tried to kill Fidel. And they're all dead. And he said, that's horseshit. I would know this. I'm the president. Somebody would tell me if the mafia got together with the CIA. And then in 1973, 9 years later, when Watergate's going on, when his hair is on, Life magazine asked him that again, and he said, I believe it now. I said, why do you believe it now? They said, why? Because of Daniel Ellsberg papers and Watergate and all this stuff. There's so much stuff that I don't know. There's so much stuff I think I knew, I don't know. And then in 2009, the Freedom of Information Act came out, and the CIA admitted it. Yeah, they did try to kill Castro, and they're all dead. And I think, God, man, Burroughs, to write about what we think is freedom, and that it is possibly this, like freedom is a disguise for another kind of repression. That's powerful stuff, man. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta sign some books. I'm gonna sign, but you know what I want to do real quick? I want to answer 3 questions, because somebody's got a question. Yes?
Please make it a question.
Yell it out.
How did you nuance the directions from David and the material from William?
Okay, I confected William by hanging out with him. And pretty soon when I was starting to shoot, I already had a sense of everything I wanted to do. And Cronenberg, like great directors everywhere, doesn't talk a lot. If there's music going on between me and Judy Davis, he wouldn't say anything. You don't want to get in the way of that, directors, if you're a director. You got somebody with the music of Judy Davis, you don't want to go and say, Miss Davis, here's what you want to do here. No. Because as Elie Kazan said, a great actor or a great actress has more music in them than you could ever talk about. So that's what Cronenberg's gifted at. He would point us in the right direction, he would suggest something else, but he would stay out of our way and shoot his thing, man. And he was brilliant at it. And by the way, Judy Davis, I did another movie with her called The New Age. And she said we become the Astaire and Rogers of the dysfunctional relationship when we finish The New Age.
What a beautiful thing to be known as.
I know, but you know something, the interesting thing about things is that I did a movie with Diane Keaton, she's brilliant. I did a play with Diane Weiss. I did a movie with Judy Davis. Not any of these 3 women are my particular, hottie jam, like, I'm not looking at them like I'm looking at like Jane Russell or Sophia Loren or something like that. But boy, I tell you something, man, those women, I put my card in the neutral because they got so much music in them and so much power, and by the way, and so much sexuality in them without even trying that I thought it's extraordinary. Let them drive, man. By the way, that's what everything
All right,
ought
we're
to
going to
learn.
take one more question. So
Yeah, women ought to drive anyway, so that's...
Absolutely.
Don't tell my wife that, though.
And please make it a question.
Yes, I was wondering if you could speak about Burroughs' interpretation of, if you could speak to what Burroughs thought of Cronenberg's interpretation of this material.
He loved it
It's
because...
very involved and it's so personal.
Well, here's the thing. He saw 8 people trying to make scripts out of that book that he really realized you can't do, because it's... Anybody read Naked Lunch? Yeah, it's a shotgun full of events, right? As sort of a beginning, sort of an end.
but he knew that you can't make a completely linear script out of Naked Lunch. But Cronenberg's idea, they talked to Burroughs at length, to make the Burroughs story, right, essentially metaphorically the Burroughs story, using images and themes of Naked Lunch, addiction and cover-up and self-lying and all that, Burroughs loved it. He absolutely loved it.
And we do too. All right, one more round of applause for Peter.